I had my first psychedelic mushroom experience when I was about 18 or 19 years old in college. And it was a beautiful experience, traveling and walking around the campus. There's a mountain campus in northern Arizona at nighttime, exploring with my friends, adventuring, crazy visuals, tripping over and falling into a rose bush and laughing my head off. And then at the end of the night, I was standing out front of my dorm and I just peed myself because I couldn't figure out how to get in to my dorm room. And that experience has left an imprint on me that I was able to clear just today, 22 years later. Stick with me and I'm going to help you understand why psychedelics are extremely powerful, extremely helpful for self-knowledge, introspection, healing, and they're also potentially a very dangerous tool if you don't know how to use them. My name is Christopher Armstrong, and I am a transformational guide, and I'm here to help people who are ready to awaken to their true purpose, knowing that they came here for something far greater than the 9 to 5. You are a misfit, you are a visionary, you have a vision of what's to come, the earth that is yet to be built. And you're here to build it. But you got to get out of your old stuff first, your old routines and your old habits. You see, I was just walking up this beautiful mountain today. I am here in the northern part of Spain, taking a little break on a 4x4 road I found, heading up to a small castle high up into the hills. A completely unexpected journey, and I stopped and found this beautiful lavender. So I've been sitting here, taking a moment to soothe my nervous system, enjoying the smell of this fresh lavender and some of the wild rosemary that's been on the trail too. And while I was climbing up, I had this moment of feeling like, I don't know if I have enough water. I wasn't expecting to climb up so high. And I started to feel a little bit of panic. And immediately it took me back to a memory when I was there in college, tripping on mushrooms. Because when I arrived back at my dorm, I wasn't sure if I had my keys with me. I couldn't figure out how to open my entryway to the hall to get back up to my room, and I panicked. I eventually just peed myself, probably 11 or 12 o'clock on a Sunday, while most everybody was maybe cramming for a test, but probably sleeping. And I started to panic. I started to cry. Now, I wasn't really that worried about my water level. I have some fresh fruit with me. I've got some mineral water, and there's actually some nearby springs. But there was something deeper happening. You see, coming up here in this fresh mountain air, all the energy that I'm surrounded by, and in fact, just many of the situations and circumstances currently happening in my life are bringing up to the surface old patterns. And so I got in my backpack and I started looking around to see what kind of supplies I had. Now, the funny thing is that I actually, when I was packing my bag out of my car, my rental car, I was thinking to myself, Christopher, you should probably bring some snacks with you. Bring some snacks, bring some fruit, you want some hydration. And then I walked away from the car and I said, no, I should probably get some more. And then I thought, no, I don't want to carry too much stuff. But I thought, I'm not going to go that high up the mountain. I'm just going to go and hang out at this little waterfalls, take a swim. Well, before I knew it, I'm about 45 minutes, intense, steep hiking up the hill. And as I'm having this moment of panic, I'm looking in my backpack and seeing what kind of supplies I have. It takes me back to that memory, and I realize that from that experience, while I was on that intense psychedelic high and panicking, that was anchoring that moment of trauma, amplified by the psychedelic experience, anchoring it into my nervous system. And I needed to get rid of it. Because in that moment, flashes of other memories passed through my mind. a time when I was in the mountains in Bolivia above La Paz, Bolivia, up in the high altitude. And I had taken some San Pedro cactus with a friend of mine who actually, oddly enough, lives in Spain now, just about 3 hours away from where I'm at. And I'm going to go visit him in a couple of weeks. He took me up into the mountains, and I remember every time that we would get ready to go for a walk after taking a short break, I would look in my backpack and I would panic because I wasn't sure if I had everything. I would check all my zippers, I would walk away, and then I would check my zippers again, and there was this pattern that was laid into my nervous system. To the point where packing for any trip, going on any hike, there was this sense of paranoia. What if I don't have everything I need? What if I left my zipper undone? Because in that moment when I was, 19 years old, I thought that I had lost my keys. The funny thing is I had my keys the whole time. They were in my backpack. I just couldn't find them because, I was really high. So what did I do? Well, in that moment, I decided to clear this old energy. So I used a technique called the havening technique. It's very simple, essentially just brushing from the shoulder all the way down to the palm of your hand on both sides. And this is something I do with my clients. And we can use this to deprogram and reprogram any intense fear, anxiety, stress, any intense emotion that's tied to a feeling or a thought pattern. Now, this was tied to this idea that I didn't have enough stuff, or that I wasn't prepared, or don't have enough supplies. And yes, it was tied to this one moment, but it was reflected in so many bigger things in my life. So I did the process. I'm breathing deeply. I'm imagining myself in a peaceful place after having intentionally exaggerated the feelings of fear and stress and anxiety to the point where I was really pretty close to having a full panic attack here in the mountains. But I knew what I was doing. I get myself to that point, and then I imagine myself walking on a beach. And as I'm walking on this beach, feeling my toes in the sand, I start to invoke more positive memories. And as I'm brushing and using this havening technique, which basically is activating certain sensory channels and nervous system channels that your mom would say use to soothe you while you're a child, as I was doing that to myself and using my thoughts, my visualization to reprogram and repattern, basically telling my nervous system, hey, it's okay. We don't need to worry about those things anymore. It's like I get to take back and rewrite history by rewriting my nervous system, because your nervous system is a reflection of your history. And so I took a moment to let it all sink in. I placed my hand on a tree and I started to breathe with the tree. I grabbed some rosemary off the side of the trail and I started to breathe that in because it's very soothing for me, just like this lavender. And in that moment, I realized that there was a lot more going on than just this one small mushroom trip. It's because since I've been here in Spain, I've been following intuition and guidance. I've been following my heart. I've been following the messages of God. It still sounds like a funny thing for me to even say. And it's the truth. And it has stressed and taxed my nervous system to the point where I had a pretty serious burnout episode a few days ago. I'm still recovering, resting and healing. I slept until 10:30 today, and it was absolutely necessary, even though there were still parts of me that resisted giving myself permission to rest. And I realized that as I come to these mountains, in the Pyrenees Mountains in northern Spain, unexpectedly I've been greeted by a woman, a friend, who is helping to open doorways, connect me with people, show me, well, she told me about this place, which I never would have known about. Could have spent hours trying to find it on the internet, but she just told me, hey, go here. And I realized I have everything that I need. And yes, I have water, and I have food, and I have a car. And even though, I may have a tent, I don't know exactly where I'm going to set it up. And there's a little bit of anxiety that I still feel about that, not knowing exactly where I'm going to sleep tonight. But I get to let go and trust. Worst case scenario, there's a little camping grounds nearby, and I can spend 20 euros and stay the night and pitch a tent. No big deal. If I really need to, there's probably a hotel room around. But the thing is, I get to trust. But to say that you want to trust God and trust your intuition and trust the path is one thing. But to actually be able to do it requires a nervous system that is tuned properly. If you're still running a nervous system that is carrying a panic attack deeply encoded into your nervous system from when you were 19 years old and taking mushrooms in college, and God, I have so many more experiences, it's not even just that one. But if you have that nervous system, you won't be able to easily follow their path. You'll break, you'll stress yourself, you'll burn out like I did. You'll crack and then go and stay at a hotel room that actually it's too expensive and very uncomfortable, but you just needed some sense of safety. And so we maybe even overeat or drink or smoke or whatever it might be, because we're looking for that soothing, because no one's taught us how to do it ourselves. And this is what I teach my clients. This is what I've learned, because I know that my ability to hold life, money, success, love, friendship, it all has to do with my nervous system. It's one of the reasons that I'm here outside. It's taking care of my nervous system instead of being in the city. And so my question for you is, what is your nervous system tuned to? Is your nervous system tuned to anxiety and stress from the news, or from doom scrolling, or from years of trauma, self-abuse through alcohol, misuse of psychedelic substances? And just ask yourself, what is it? Maybe your unconscious mind will show you. And what can you do to re-pattern, rewire? Yes, you can do some of these things on your own. Go check out the havening technique. I started learning about it through, there's a hypnotherapist who works through Mind Valley. And he's done a whole bunch of other programs. The name escapes me right now, but British guy. There's lots of resources out there. And if you don't want to do it on your own, reach out. I'll put a link below where you can schedule a one-off session with me, and we can sit down and do a little bit of the rework. And if you want to do more, there's always more that we can do. My favorite work is doing an 8-hour breakthrough session with somebody, because we get to repattern a whole lifetime's worth of stuff. But it's all up to you. Either you can allow your nervous system to dominate your life and find yourself in those patterns over and over again, because we become so used to the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, the grief, that our unconscious mind puts us in those situations that repeat and mimic that, because that's the only thing we know and that's all we're used to. Most humans are not actually deeply afraid of the things that are bad. They're deeply afraid of the success, of the love, of the what if things go right, paradoxically. So if you're ready for more, find the info below. And if you've ever had an experience where you tripped out a little too hard and you know that it lasted and kept an imprint on you, share in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. For now, I'm going to get back to the mountains. There's a church nearby that wants to be seen, and a fresh spring that wants to be drank from. So, for now, greetings from the Pyrenees Mountains.